Hi everyone, welcome. Get myself pulled up on my phone. Say hi when you're on. Okay, there I am, so I can see comments maybe. Say hi when you're on. I'm Jenna with Apple Dolly Creations. Welcome. Hi Brenda. How are you doing today? So we are doing a very, very simple sewing project tonight that, hi Patty, if you are a, say now I have a slow connection. Okay. If you are a first-time sewer, if you haven't sewn for a while, hi Donna, if you have a booth, you do shows, you sell somewhere else, this is a really fast, easy project that you can do if this is the first time you're sitting in front of your machine, or you haven't sat in front of your machine for 100 years. And these, we're doing two things. We're sewing two things tonight. They're quick, easy, nice gifts. And I'm going to show you how you can dress them up. And all of this is scrap fabric. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate that. So we're going to backtrack a little bit and go over some very, thank you for sprinkling, Patty. I appreciate that. Very basic things. If you just was given a machine from your aunt, your grandmother, you know, you bought one from Marketplace, you want to learn to sew and you don't know where to start, this is your project. If you are having a problem keeping your lines sewn straight, this is your project. Hi Donna, welcome. If you don't know where to start, this is your project. So we're going to go over some things. I'm going to explain things like y'all have never sewn before. So, because I have a couple of you that are just pulling your machines out of your closets, or you just bought one and you don't know where to start. So I'm going to put you around my neck. Let me flip you around. Okay. So Donna, did you get all those storms like Jody got? Are you in that part of Ohio? We had awful storms yesterday. The electric went out. The wind was blowing. It felt like the house was going to be blown away. So what I'm using, this is what I'm using. This is scrap fabric. This is scrap, all of it. Just pieces of fabric from another project. And this is what we're going to be using tonight. But you don't have sewing fabric. You don't have all the sewing supplies. You can buy a fat quarter. That's what this is. A fat quarter is 18 by 21, 22 inches. And it's a yard of fabric that's been cut into 4. That's what you're buying. A quarter yard of fabric. That's what this is. Now, if you want to do a project, and these are about $2. Now, if you want to do a project and you want a bunch of these that match, like you don't want to buy all this, or you don't want to buy all this. You want coordinating fabrics. You can buy a fat quarter bundle. That's what this is. This is how they come wrapped in ribbon. Depending on the fabric manufacturer, there's 5 or 6. This one's 5. And depending on the design of your fabric, now you can buy fat quarters and you can buy fat quarter bundles in solid colors. These are going to range you from $7 to $12. So these are options. This is $2 about. So depending on what you want to do. So if you don't have any fabric, even Walmart sells these. Hey Kay, how are you? Hi Jan. Thank you for sprinkling, Jan. I appreciate that. So if you're brand new to sewing and you want to learn, this is your project. Well, we're doing two things because they match. This is how I used to sell them. So these are fat quarters. Now, on the edge of your fabric, you will have a selvage. So if you see that written, this is what it is. All it is your fabric is printed up to a quarter or half inch from the edge of your fabric. So you just have this band. That's what a selvage is. And it's on all fabrics. This is a selvage. On the selvage, it's going to give you these blocks with different colors and different numbers. The numbers are, you have a little bit of this black in this fabric. You have a little bit of the black, and you have a lot of this number 14, which is this pale periwinkle color. So in this fabric that this come off of, there was 14 different colors. So if you want to take your fabric and you say, well, I wish I could match up that gold, you can take this off of your selvage to your fabric store and match up your fabric. So on the selvage also, there will be the manufacturer. This one was Daisy Kingdom. Let me get this. So it will tell you the item number, the name of the fabric, everything, who it was sold by, Springs printed it. It'll tell you everything about that piece of fabric. All the way down, however many yards you buy. See, now we're starting over again. And it'll tell you everything you want to know about your fabric. So I keep this from a piece of fabric just so I can show everybody when they say what's a selvage, I can show you. So you also have a different type of a selvage, and it's this kind of selvage. Your fabric is printed all the way to the edge of the fabric. If you turn it over, you will see a white band. And you'll also see those little dots that you can see through? There's like tiny little holes there. That's how the fabric is attached to the machine at the manufacturer when they are wrapping it up on bolts. So you have this type of selvage and you have this type of selvage. Those are the only two kinds of selvages you're going to have on fabric. It's going to be printed all the way to the edge, or it's going to stop about a quarter inch from the edge. Okay? So, those are you who say, I can't do what you do because I can't iron my fabrics. Please iron your fabric, because if you're making something and it is wrinkled, your project is not going to look as good as it could, or as it's finished as it could. So I've been telling y'all, you can use a flat iron. So we're using this little scrap. It is 1.5 inches wide. Now this one's 5 inches. We only need, 3.5 of this. So you can fold your fabric in half, and that's what I'm using this for tonight. And you can, see, you got, just like on the bottom of an iron, you have a plate that heats up. You can iron you can use this as long as your fabric does not have an acrylic in it. So if your fabric has an acrylic in it, let me open that back up. See what a nice crease that gave? and I didn't use an iron. You can pick up irons really cheap, like $5 at a thrift store. If your fabric has acrylic in it, I mean, everyone knows what cotton feels like. And if it feels like it has a sheen or a slickness to it, or it has a lot of stretch, it has acrylic in it. Now, even cotton has a stretch to it. When you go against the grain, see, I got my finger here, my finger here. See how that stretches? But if I go this way, there is no stretch. So we're going against the grain. So when you're cutting your fabric and you're going against the grain, you want to be careful that you're not distorting your fabric. If you're putting like a doll dress or something together, now you can put it right back together by applying heat to it. And I distorted it and I put it back just by ironing it. So your iron is a really good sewing tool. See, it's back in shape again. So what we're starting with, we need, this is 1.5 inch. You don't want to go, this is elastic. You don't want to go any smaller than 1 inch. You can go wider, but don't go smaller than 1 inch. This is 1.5 inch. So you need 1.5 inch by 10 inch piece of elastic. And you need 2 pieces of fabric. Now these are 3.5. Now these are 3.5 by 8 inches. So 3.5 by 8. And you need 1 piece 3.5 by 12. And what we're making is a pen holder for your book, for your clipboard, anything like that. So, like, I have a clipboard that I have a calendar on that I keep track of all my events that I'm in. So, we're going to put this together and then we're going to show you. So, you want to take your 12-inch piece and fold it in half. So, this is going to be your bottom. That's your cut edge. And your fold edge is going to be your top. And we want to press that top. And I'm only using a flat iron tonight. Now, can you see that crease right there? That's from being folded. I'm going to put this right over top. Now, this is a tiny one. You can get bigger flat irons. And I'm taking that crease right out. This is good for ribbons, laces, as long as it's not acrylic. So you can't even iron acrylic with an iron because it will melt. But see how nice of a crease that gave? Really sharp. And we're taking our little piece of sunflower fabric and we're putting it underneath. And I'm just going to let this peek out just a little bit. And I'm going to pin this so it don't move. So this is going to be the pocket that will hold your pens, highlighters, whatever. Just like that. So we have, this is homespun. So homespun, there is no right and wrong. Now you have other fabrics that have a nice side, and then it has the wrong side. So this is right side out, this is wrong side. But on homespun, it's printed the same. So we're putting that down. We're gonna sew this on first. Let me pull my machine over. We're gonna sew this little band on. Now, if your machine has decorative stitches, this is, especially if you're going to sell these, it would be really nice to put a decorative stitch there. So let me get this set up, and we're going to do a decorative stitch. So let's see which one we want. So I'm showing you, this is all the decorative stitches. So let's do that flower. Can you see that? Now I can make it longer and wider if I want it, just by moving these. See, I'm making it longer. I can make it narrower. So let's pull this up close so you can really see this stitching. Hi Mel, how are you doing? So I didn't miss anybody. Okay, so this is a great item, fast, easy, as a gift. You can make this gift in a half hour if you needed to. So we're going to back stitch. You always want to back stitch. Now if your machine has a screen like this, when you back stitch on a decorative stitch, your fabric is not going to move back and forth like it does on a straight stitch. It's going to stay in one spot, and your needle is going to go up and down as long as you're holding your back stitch button. See how my fabric's not moving? Now you see my needle is going back and forth, back and forth. That's because we're doing this flower stitch. And that just gives a pretty edge. So all you got to do is keep your fabric straight. And see, I'm back stitching, and the fabric's not moving, only the needle. Can you see that? So it just gave a real faint look. Now, if we would have done another color thread, we would have done a decorative thread, you would see that a whole lot better. Let's see. There you go. See that? So, let me get rid of this ironing pad. So you want to take your pocket. That's what this is. And you want to, now I'm eyeballing this. This is my front side. I'm putting my elastic right in the middle. I'm looking for my other one so I can show you. This is what we're doing. Now this one's for my daughter. See, your pins go in here. So, one of your long pieces, you want to put your elastic right in the middle. I confused myself there for a moment. So it doesn't matter how many years you've sewn. You still confuse yourself sometimes. And it don't matter how many of something you've made. So I'm eyeballing that in the middle. Now you see my elastic is longer than my fabric. It's supposed to be that way. And I'm using clips. You can use straight pins. So see, we have more elastic than we have fabric. And that's okay. So what I'm going to do is, just so this doesn't move, I'm going to put a pin in it just to keep it folded up. See how I did that? So we're going to put our pocket on first. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm confusing myself. So there we go. Okay. I gotta put my pocket on first. There we go. I'm like, something doesn't look right. So our pocket, then our elastic. I sat here and made 4 of these today, so I shouldn't be confused. So that's going to hold that, and then we're going to put this on the top. So we have one of the long pieces of fabric, our pocket, our elastic, and then our other piece of fabric. So see, it doesn't matter how many years you've been sewing, sometimes you just got to stop and think about what you're doing. I'm going to pull this edge of this elastic just out a hair so that I know I'm catching that in my seam. Let me straighten it up. So we made a sandwich. We have long piece of fabric, our pocket, our elastic, and then the long piece of fabric. And I'm going to put a couple of straight pins in this just so all these layers don't move. And I'm making sure as I do this that this stays all lined up. So see, this isn't cut straight. These are just scraps I pulled out of my bin. But we're going to sew them straight. Okay? So we need to leave an opening for turning. Now you can take a pen and you can draw 2 little lines, your start, your stop. I still sew over top of that when I do that. So I take another pin and put it the way I'm sewing. So I'm sewing the edges, I'm going around this way. So I know I can't sew over that pin, so I have to start and stop on each side of that pin. That's my trick to keep, because otherwise I will just sew it straight up and then I have to get this seam ripper out and open it up so I have it turning. So I'm starting on this side of the pin. I'm pushing that head all the way up. And I'm going to backstitch, and we're using a straight stitch. And I am sewing as close to the edge as I can get. Now, if you have a problem stopping a 1/4 inch from the edge of your fabric, take your, let me get a pen. Where'd it go? There it is. Take a ruler and find the 1/4 inch mark. So we know that is 1. And the line above it, the next big line, is a 1/2. And then right above that, you will see another line that's a little longer than the others. That is your 1/4 inch. So I'm going to line that up, that line with the edge of my fabric, and make a dot. Just a dot. And then I'm going the same way this way, and I'm making a dot right on that 1/4 inch. Can you see that? Let me get you over here. Can you see that? That's a 1/4 inch from my fabric. That's a 1/4 inch from the edge of my fabric. I'm stopping on that dot. So if you have a problem stopping a 1/4 inch from the edge of your fabric to turn, make that dot. So I'm answering a whole bunch of questions here tonight too. So let me get you situated so you can see. I know, Barbara, I do it all the time. That's why I take a pin and put it the opposite direction, so I know I can't sew over it. I do it all the time. All the years I've been sewing, I still do it. Stopped on that dot. When you turn your fabric, always leave your needle down. Once you do this 600 million times, you will just guess. I'm coming up to the elastic because the elastic is going to be pulled on quite a bit. I'm sewing over it, and then I'm back stitching over it again. Now, if you don't have a back stitch, someone said their machine does it. Flip your fabric and sew right back over, and then pivot your fabric one more time. Every machine, even the really old ones, have a back stitch. I'm glad you're here, Barbara. So because that elastic is going to take a lot of tugging, wherever on my fabrics, whatever I'm making, if it's one corner or one side's going to take a lot of tugging, I always back stitch a couple of times. So I'm sewing over it one more time, and I'm going to the edge of my fabric and stop and pivot. So we're doing this all the way around till we come to, I do not sew over my needles. You might get away with it for a while, but the more use you have on your sewing needle, the more fragile it becomes. You're going to break a needle. Evidently, you're going to break a needle. And I hate changing needles. So, you are supposed to change your needles every 8 to 12 hours of sewing. I really, really push that. So when you hear your machine making noises, something doesn't sound right, you are breaking a ton of thread. First thing you want to think of, when did I change that needle last? So I'm grabbing that elastic and I'm pulling it down just so I know that it's going to get in my seam. If you buy really, really cheap needles, you're going to have to change them more often. Now, I used to buy the cheapest needle on the market because the only store in my town in Pennsylvania was Joann's. So I used to buy the cheapest one Joann had. And I was always buying needles because they wear out. If you buy a more expensive needle, and I like Schmetz, this is their name. Now, you can get these on Amazon. I don't know if Walmart sells these, but I think Hobby Lobby does. But definitely Amazon, because that's where I get them. That needle lasts me twice as long as any other needle. And I've tested it. Because you don't want to keep buying something that's being thrown in the trash. Now, when I come up here, there's my straight pin. I have to stop, because if I sew over that, I'm changing a needle. And you possibly could break your needle arm. And this is your needle arm. This is what's going up and down. That's your needle arm. So I'm going to back stitch and cut my thread. So this project is almost done. So in these corners, let me see if you can see it on this side. Right where these corners are, we need to get rid of this excess fabric. So cut just a triangle off almost to that corner stitch there, all the way around, all the layers. Now, if you have excess fabric, you want to trim that also. Let me get rid of these pins. Now, on this side, this is where our opening is. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. I'm only cutting just a little bit, but I'm only cutting up to where, let me get rid of that, where the stitch ends there. So I'm just taking a slice off. Now, when I get to where the stitch ends, I'm going at an angle. See that? And I'm doing the same thing on this side. Now, don't throw these pieces of fabric away, because those of you that have followed me for a while, we make fabric out of all of this that is no good for anything else. You also can use this to stuff your stuffed animals with, your dolls. So we're going to turn this. Now what I do is I put my thumb in the furthest corner. See right there? And I put my first finger right there in that corner, and I push through. So when I push through, my finger is now on the inside. But what that does is help push that corner out. And I do that on everything. So see, that corner's not completely out, but we're going to get it out. And I do that every corner. Push it through. So the more layers you have, the more you need to take your finger and push that out. Don't use your scissors to push your corners out, because you're going to poke a hole in your project. So let's flip this all out. Pull out that pin for that elastic. And all I'm going to do is slightly tug on this just to get this all fixed. And we're going to take our elastic, because this is the front, and just flip it around. So there's our pocket that we sewn. And I'm just tugging on all my seams just to straighten them out. See, there's our front. Now this is the way it was when we flipped it. This is the front of our project. Take that and just flip it around. And I'm going to press this one more time, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to use a chopstick to get these corners pressed out more. So you just put your chopstick inside your project and just sharpen those corners up. That does make a difference in your project. If you have one corner sharp and the other one's pushed in, it's not going, I mean, it'll look okay, but it could look better, right? And see, I'm just pressing this just to get the wrinkles out. Now here's our opening. The reason when I cut this, I cut at an angle, is this will fold right inside very easy, because there's extra fabric there. Now, if you have a problem, and I showed this before, getting that fabric to stay in, washable school glue. Now, when you take this lid off, it has to be purple. It doesn't matter the name brand. It's got to be purple. If it's white, that is regular glue, even in the off brands. Purple is washable. Purple you can iron. Purple you can sew. So fold that in, and if you have to, press it to keep it, because sometimes this does not want to turn in. Press it. So we have multiple layers here. So they don't want to turn together. So we're going to press it. See, I'm putting my iron inside. And I'm pressing that down. I keep getting messages from y'all saying you're having a problem getting this to turn. Take your school glue, and you don't need a ton. Just a couple little swipes is all you need. And see, the glue's purple, but there's no purple on my fabric. Even a white sheer fabric, this purple does not stain. Fold your fabric, press it together, because it's glue, it's going to stay. You cannot sew this until you dry that glue with an iron, with your whatever you're using. And we're going to top stitch all the way around. So when we top stitch, we're going to enclose that opening. So I always start. Now when you're sewing this, be careful you don't catch your elastic. So we're going to make sure that elastic is out of our way. Now when you're doing this, your needle is only going to go up and down. That's the only way it's going to move. Don't watch your needle, watch your fabric. Now when I'm getting really close to the edge, on my presser foot, this opening, this is where the needle goes through the fabric down into the bobbin. I take this edge and run it right along the edge of my fabric. I'm watching this opening here, this little opening. Don't watch your needle. You're going to get mesmerized. You're going to end up with wonky stitches. This is how I keep mine straight when I'm doing edge stitching. I'm watching this hole right here, not your needle. And you want to take your thread and always make sure, whoops, I got it caught there, that it's under your presser foot, because if it is not, you're going to have a knot of thread at your very first stitch. So put your needle down, and if you leave 6 to 8 inches of thread, which I don't have that, when your needle arm goes down, if you don't have enough thread, that's why I was holding it, it's going to unthread your needle, and then you're going to have to thread it again. So we're going to back stitch. Always back stitch, start and finish. And I don't know if you can tell that I'm running my fabric right along that edge, all the way to the corner. See, I am all the way to that corner. So when I flip it, and I'm going to pull this elastic out of my way, I'm going to have the same stitches all the way around. Now I don't want to back stitch over the elastic here. It's caught. Because then you're going to have a whole bunch of stitches on the outside of your fabric. So I'm going to move my needle one more stitch and flip this. So the only problem with this is this elastic. You have to keep maneuvering it out of your way. Otherwise, you're going to stitch it and then have to take it back out. And if you're new at this, go as slow as you need to go. Let me move that so you can see. Until you get this down. Because if you go really fast, now mine has an automatic switch. I do not have a presser foot or a foot pedal on this one. So I can move this really fast, which I never go that fast. I normally keep it right in the middle, but I can slow this all the way down to look how slow that moves. And if that's how slow you have to start, then go that slow. There's nothing wrong with it. This is not a race that you have to win. This is just something that we're going to do to learn to sew and to have something at the end that we can show, say, hey, I made this. Now, if you have tags for your little business, then make sure you put a tag on this also. So I do sew tags on my stuff that I'm selling. But these are sample projects that I'm showing you all. So see how slow that goes? So this is your hand wheel over here. This turns your needle up and down. That's what I'm turning to move that one more stitch. So if I went back and forth here, you're going to have a whole bunch of stitches. To me, that's unsightly. That's why I did back stitching when this was wrong side out. You don't want to push your fabric under your needle. I'm just guiding it. That's all you have to do is guide it. Because if you push your fabric, you're going to get all kinds of problems. It's going to be bunched up. It's going to be wrinkled. You have feed dogs underneath on this plate here, or they're under the plate actually, that help you move your fabric. So we're back where we started. I'm back stitching, and this is done. So your feed dogs is this rough little plate up underneath of your foot. That's what your feed dogs are. They go up and down and they move your fabric. So this is done. So this is how we use it. So it's a Bible, it's a book, whatever. You wrap it around your cover. What did I do? Oh, I got it stuck. Okay, let's pull this out. There we go. There. So we got this. So you can put your highlighters in it. You can put your ink pen in it. And you also can use it as a bookmark where your pages are. So that's one project. Very simple, easy to do. If you have a clipboard, like I keep my schedule for my events on here. You can wrap it around the top of your clipboard. Put your paper on it. Let's do it this way. Whoops. So for a clipboard, I'd use another inch of elastic. And then you can keep your ink pen in it. And then when you sign up for something, you got it right there. So, okay. So, whoops, that's what that is. So it's for your books. If you read a lot, if you do highlighting, you can keep all of that right in there. So what you need, let me get my instructions out here. That I scribbled everything down today. A 10-inch piece of elastic, one piece of fabric, 12 inches by 3.5, and two pieces, 8 by 3.5. And then you put your, and then you can add this little decorative trim if you wanted. Oh, you like that? So, now when I sold these, I also sold this. You need 3 pieces of fabric. These are 4-inch squares. So we're going to take one of the squares and fold it in half. And I sold these as a set, not in half, at a triangle. Make sure your points. So if you're trying to get a piece of fabric square, do I have another piece here? Yeah. So you want to make sure that your fabric is square. Take a corner and fold it along the edge. Make sure your point is pointed. Right there. Make sure that is pointed. Now I could cut right across that and I would have a perfect square. If your fabric is not straight, the best way to get a straight line is make a little snip and rip it. And this will be perfectly straight at the end. So that's how you can make sure you got a perfectly straight edge that you're starting with. And if you need a square, however wide your square, if you needed a 5-inch square, you would want to start with a 5-inch piece of wide fabric and then fold it over. But make sure that that lines up right there on this edge to that point. And then cut it. And we have a perfect square. Okay, so we're taking this and we're matching up corner to corner, or corner to corner. So we have a triangle. And I'm making sure that my points are pointed. So I don't want this to be like this. See how off that is? I want it to be perfectly straight on this edge and that point to be pointed. Now I'm going to hold that. Hi, Diana. And I'm going to just, with your iron, grab this and start using it. Making sure now this point is, these two points are together. And I'm just going to go right across this. Now, when I get to this side, I want to make sure that that's pointed. And I'm going to start at that corner and then come back across. And just make sure that that is a really sharp crease. So see if you don't have an iron, get your hair straightener out. But look at that sharp crease that made. Now, if you wanted on this, just like we did on this, so we took this sunflower fabric and we did a band. You could take this fabric, this homespun, and do a band right across there. We're not. So we're taking our one other 4-inch square, and we're going to match this up, making sure that our edges are all straight. This edge is lined up, this edge is lined up. And I'm going to put a pin just to hold that, right in the middle. So we don't have to worry about this pin when we're sewing, because our needle is never going to hit it. So this is right side, this is right side, this needs to be wrong side. So this is the back of our fabric, this is the right of our fabric. And we're going to match up all 4 edges of our fabric. Use a pin, use a clip, whatever you have. Now, I had a girl one time, she didn't have straight pins, and it was a beginner sewing class. She showed up with paper clips. It worked. That's what she had to start with. So here again, we need to leave a turning opening, but we don't want to leave it where this triangle of fabric is. So here's our triangle. So we want to leave our opening over on this side. Let me get that back on there. So I'm going to take my pin and put it in the opposite direction that your pins or your clips are going. So we're going to start here sewing, go all the way around this square, and stop where this pin is. So when I'm starting on the side of the pin that has a head, I always take the pin and push it all the way into the head is right on top of the fabric, especially something little like this. And we're going to backstitch. You always backstitch. And I know you will see people saying, you don't got to backstitch on that because we're going to sew over it again. If you don't backstitch, what happened? I didn't make any stitches. Yeah, I did. I didn't see them there. When we turn this, if we don't backstitch beginning and end, and we're turning this and we're pulling and tugging on the fabric, those stitches are going to start coming out. So, and then you're going to have to finagle it to get it turned back in, and it's just easier to backstitch. So here again, if you have a problem gauging how close to sew to the edge, mark it like I showed you. So this is the perfect sewing project. If you are just sitting down in front of a machine for the very first time especially, or if you haven't sewn in a while. Now your hand wheel, let me tell you something about your hand wheel. Your hand wheel is only made to go toward you to the front of the machine. If you turn your hand wheel, especially if you have a computer, and if you have a newer machine, it has some kind of a computer in it. If you turn your hand wheel going toward the back of your machine, you're going to mess it up. Because this is only made, I mean, it'll turn that way with absolutely no hesitation. But if you keep doing that, it messes up the mechanism inside. And I did it. I messed it up. And it cost me $400 to have that fixed. And that machine wasn't even didn't have a computer in it. So sewing machines, if you use them and you keep them clean, and you don't force them, like you can't force a regular sewing machine to sew leather. You have to have a machine that is made for leather. Now you can sew lightweight leather with an all-purpose machine, like it'll say heavy duty. Now you can sew lightweight leather, but if you go sewing heavy leather with a regular sewing machine, you're going to end up messing it up. Now again, we're going to clip our corners, because if you don't clip your corners, you'll never get your corner pushed out to be pointed. So here again, I'm just clipping this a little bit, and I'm making that curve up. That's what it should look like. You should have a tab right there. And we're going to turn this. Now remember, you have a straight pin inside, so you don't want to stab yourself, which I stab myself every time I sew. So if you ever see me turning something and I'm squeezing it, that's what I'm checking for. Did I leave a straight pin in there? Because I would rather get stabbed than my customer get stabbed. Or if you're doing a stuffed animal, like I do a ton of memory bears, I don't want somebody to give a memory bear I made to a child and that child gets stabbed. My heart would break. Will what come apart? Mini clothespins. Yeah, you can use that too. Will what come apart, Barb? So see, just like the last project, I'm pushing these corners out with my thumb and finger, and then I'm pulling it. See, I'm not tugging, I'm just gently giving it a tug. This is a chopstick. Tony and I went somewhere and ate, and they gave us chopsticks. So these were joined like this. All I did was rip them apart. So you can buy a turning tool. There's all kinds of things you can buy. Or when I'm doing memory bears, this is a dowel rod that I glued a bead on. So I use this for turning my stuffed animals. And I have a larger one too. See? This is just something that I made. But if you use your scissors, now you can just use a skewer, but use the blunt end and push that out. So you want your corners to be sharp. Pushed out. Now, if you're having a problem getting a corner to push out, take a straight pin and gently pull it. Just reach in that little fold like that and just pull it out gently, because this too will rip your fabric. Barbara, what was your question? Will what come apart? The stitches, if you don't back stitch, see how I was pulling at this, turning it and everything, your stitches will come apart right here on each end of your opening if you don't have a back stitch there. Let me get that pushed out just a bit more. Now when you're doing this, you want to be gentle, because if I was hard, I probably still could push this chopstick through my fabric. So there again, there's the tabs that we cut in our fabric. We're just going to fold them in. Now again, if you're having problem with this part, use the washable glue, and always make sure you dry it, because if you don't dry it with your iron or your flat iron, the glue is going to get stuck on your thread, and it's going to break your thread, and it's going to gum up your needle. And if it gums up your needle, then you got to take it out and use alcohol on it to clean it. So again, real close to the edge, I'm lining my fabric up with where the needle goes into the presser foot, right there on that edge. That's where my fabric is lining up. Can you see that? See? Right there. Don't watch your needle. It's only going to go one direction. And that was a hard thing for me to do when I first started sewing. I wanted to watch the needle, but it's only going one direction, but your fabric will get wonky and go all over the place. Back stitch. So when I sold these in sets. The pen holder, and this is your page marker. So these were a really good seller. This is a great way to use up some scraps. Really easy, fast to do. So you can do both of these in less than a half hour. It took us longer because I'm explaining, probably over explaining. I'm going right to the edge of my fabric. All the way to the edge. That's where my last stitch is. You watch the presser foot. So here we have this wrapped around the front. I'm using my Bible for my pens, my highlighters, whatever. And this Bible has a ribbon, which is awkward because it's so little. But now I can just take this, put it over my page, and when my Bible is closed, I know exactly where I left off. So if you sell these as a set, they sell really well. Yeah, I never thought about mini clothespins instead of, I just lost my place. But now let's talk about straight pins. So I have tons of different ones here. Now, pins come in all sizes. I don't like little ones. Let me see. See how little this one is? Whoops, I can't even hold it and went on the floor. So I'll probably end up stepping on it. The shaft of your needle, of your pin, they come in different diameters and different lengths. See how tiny that one is? I don't like these pins. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm looking for that. I have some really small ones in here. Now there's another really small one. The length of it is what I'm talking about. Well, that one's bent, so we're not even keeping that. If you find a bent straight pin, Throw it right away as soon as you see it. So this is a gum container. When my children were little, I was working a full-time, a part-time job and trying to go to school. So I chewed tons of gum. I chewed so much gum that one year my son bought me gum for Christmas. I can't find it. But anyway, they come in different lengths. The shaft of your needle comes in different lengths and different diameters. I don't like tiny little short needles. So I use these on ribbon to keep them, that one went on the floor, to keep them from unraveling. I use them on folded fabric to keep it folded right. I don't use these to sew. What I prefer, this is called a quilt needle. The shaft is bigger and it's longer and the head is bigger. The reason I started using these, when I do fur coat bears, I take vintage fur coats, people give them to me, and I make teddy bears out of them. You can't find the pins in the fur. So I went looking for a long shaft pin, and they're called quilt pins. But they also have really colorful heads on them. See, they come in all different colors. But I can find these in the fur. And if you have arthritic fingers like I do, and I have problems because of the fibromyalgia with my fingers, those little pins, like you saw, I dropped them. So if you drop your pins, pick up one of these bingo things that they get all of their, what are they called? I don't play bingo. All of the pieces on. It's magnetic. It'll pick your pins right off the floor. So, and you can use it as a pin holder too. So if you ever see me when I'm sewing and I take my pins and I just go like that, I'm throwing it towards this because this is such a strong magnet. The pin goes right to it. Doesn't matter the direction I'm throwing it. This draws the pin right to it. So this is bingo chips. This is for bingo chips, gathering the bingo chips off the cards. That's what this is for. I got this at Ollie's one time. Hi, Sheila. And I think I only paid like $1 or $2 for it, but I've had this forever. You see, it's starting to come apart, but it still works. So there's our projects. To mark our pages and to put around the cover to hold our pens, highlighters, whatever in there. Now you can make this wider to fit a cell phone. I think my cell phone would fit in there, but some won't. But there you go. So I made that set, and I made my daughter a pink set. So see, it doesn't matter your fabric. See this one, I put a little highlight, a pink gingham on it. But they sell really well. Hi, Becky. You caught us right at the end. The little pins are annoying. I mean, I've got some really short ones in here. I don't have anything to dump these into. I mean, I can't even imagine. And then, these are called headless pins, even though they have a tiny little head there. There's no way, if you're using faux fur or real fur, that you're going to find that. Unless you squeeze it and get stabbed. But I have some really, really short ones in here. And I got all these from sewing boxes that I picked up at, see, there's a short one. But the shafts do come in different diameters and lengths. But if you're using the long ones like I do, these are quilt pins, that is, diameter is bigger around, and it's going to break your needle. If you have a tiny little diameter shaft on your needle, you possibly could sew over it. But I'm always, All you have to do one time is damage your machine from something that you did, like sewing over a needle. And I have damaged my machine by sewing over needles. And I have damaged my machine by turning my hand wheel the wrong way. Yeah, I mean, one time you're going to get away with it. But if you keep turning that hand wheel toward the back of your machine, you're going to mess up something inside. Yeah, Donna, I only use the quilt pins. They're not any more expensive, but I like the length of them, and I like the real colorful heads, especially when I'm doing vintage fur coats in the teddy bears. Oh, thank you, Jan. I hope I am. Hi, Debbie. I didn't see you hop on here. So, Becky, I think you're new to me. Welcome. I'm glad you stopped by. Hi, Dorothy. You snuck in on me, too. Yes, they do. They sell very well. But I always sold these as a pair. You hand sewed them when your machine broke. Yep, you can hand sew these with no problem. Oh, you're welcome, Brenda. So, if you guys make anything that we're doing on here, please send me a picture and give me permission to post it so we can share. I like to see what you do because you see my project, and then when you go to do it, you think, oh, I could do this and I could do that and I can. And so I like to see your ideas too. So there's that set. And there's that set. So you can use wider than 1 inch. I wouldn't go smaller than 1 inch on your elastic. So God bless all of you. Thank you for hopping on. I got thread everywhere. And those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about with all these little scraps that you can't use for anything else besides stuffing a stuffed animal with, we're going to do a Americana project with all these little, they're called fabric crumbs. I got so many projects for you guys. If I live to be 1,000, we still won't get through all of them. God bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. And everybody, welcome Becky, because she is new to us. So this is your very first beginner project. Sit down at your machine, and this is your project that you can make and learn how to keep your stitches straight, how to get all your fabric lined up, and how to use your machine. And if your machine has all these decorative stitches, get a piece of fabric and a dark thread and just go through and start sewing them and playing with, you know, if you got this, let me get you closer. If you have a little square like that somewhere on your machine, it might be down here and it might be up here. Press it. You can change the width of your stitch. We want it wider. See how that's moving? We can make it narrower. The length, we can make it longer. See how it's moving? And then the LR shift, that's to change your needle. You can move your needle. See how that's moving over to the right? So that means that when my needle goes down, these stitches are going to line right up with my presser foot right there. So I can move it to the other way too. See how it's moving? So if you have that window right there somewhere on your screen, that's what that window is for. So this one is to cut your thread. This one is reverse. See, I have a reverse there. I have a reverse button over here. I have a cut thread there. These ones we're going to get into in another video, because these ones you need a USB thing and download something from your computer and put it in your machine. Those are embroidery. So if your machine does not embroider, you will not have these. Okay? So play around with all your stitches. There's a snowflake, there's a chain, there's an alligator, flowers, that's Greek key, leaves. Then there's those. So just play around. If your machine has this, that scallop I love, because there it is. Now watch. I'm going to lengthen it. See it getting wider? That's a really nice edge. I want it longer. Watch. See how long it's getting? Oh, I hit a wrong button. Let's go back. See how it's getting longer? So I have a really big scallop there. So play around with your machine if you have decorative stitches. And see right there? That is your decorative stitches. So the rest of these are embroidery. But that's your decorative stitches. And then just hit your forward and back button to try them. God bless you all. Have a great night. If you have any sewing questions, please send me a message and I will do a video just for you and show and explain to you or show you what you're having a problem with. Okay, God bless you all.